Distributed denial of service. Number 4. We can use the same equations to analyze distributed denial of service, or DDoS. We can see here that there was a study widely cited that showed that of a survey of 500 and some odd companies, $2.8 million, almost $2.9 million, was lost in DDoS attacks. This survey had companies that were slanted toward the higher end. I mean, 24% of them were billion-dollar companies, so it was kind of slanted. But the amount of revenue they lost reportedly was, $2.9 million. Again, the exposure factor was 100%. The rate of occurrence, there's 424 companies surveyed that responded and indicated this attack. Our estimates are that there would be roughly 2 million companies in America that would fit the profile to be victims of this attack. Although that's just an interpolated estimate. But anyway, from the real survey numbers, we know 2.88 million is the loss, 424 incidents. The asset value can be computed there to be $6,812. So a company is likely to lose say $7,000 if it is attacked by one of these DDoS attacks. Extrapolating based on the corporate revenue of the entire United States, which is $30 trillion, and interpolating based on the economic profile of the companies, basically you use the dollar revenues of each of these companies. We estimate that there's 2 million companies and a total of $535 million that is that is lost because of these attacks, which is again $68.12 per company per year for companies that have a revenue of about $354 million. That is an extremely small amount of money for a $354 million company. Now, unlike the other types of attacks, the asset value to the attacker is not the same as the asset value to the defender. Excuse me. In this case, the asset value to the attacker is zero. They don't expect any money, except in cases of extortion, where they threaten to attack you if you don't pay them, in which case the attack may or may not actually happen. But most of these cases, or at least some of the cases, the most popular ones that are reported, there's no intention of receiving any dollar income from the attack. So the cost of getting caught, while it has to be some number greater than or equal to zero, the probability of being caught would have to be very close to zero for this to be a worthwhile endeavor from an economic standpoint. Now, there are those that argue that DDoS is free speech. It's an expression of free speech to they want to express their opinion using these attacks. And of course, extortion is another thing. People think that it's that type of a threat. Terrorism is, some people use that word. The first successful prosecution of a DDoS attack of an anonymous user was last year in 2010. So there hasn't been a real good set of data to calculate the probability of being caught, because there haven't been that many people caught. But the remaining question is, what is the economic feasibility of defending against these attacks? What is the benefit to the company? Very, very small, based on the amount of revenue that they generate and the amount they're about likely to lose in an attack. And the attacker doesn't get anything out of it, so they have to really be upset with you and have some resources to be able to expend to be able to carry this type of an attack out. This is a summary of the figures as we see them. 535 million is the total amount of money lost every year in DDoS attacks, and there's 2 million of these attacks per year. But as far as the cost of getting caught, we cannot compute the probability of the cost of getting caught. I mean, they must have some other reason other than money to do this type of a attack. So the question becomes, who are the attackers? Why do they attack? And what do they gain from this? This is the anonymous member that was convicted in 2010. His name is Dmitry Guzner, and 19 years old. His motivation for the attack, he was carrying a DDoS attack out on the apparently the Church of Scientology. Apparently, it's not an expensive attack. It can be generated from a person's obviously dorm room, bedroom, whatever that is. But he must have had some, been pretty angry with these Church of Scientology people to be willing to do this sort of thing and risk the costs. In fact, the how do you want to put it? The cachet or the fad, I'm not even going to call it. What's the right word? But basically, the fashionability of these attacks seems to have been on the decline. According to this shadow server organization, they were almost non-existent. Well, I mean non-existent. They were much lower in the 2006, 2007, 2008 timeframe than they were in the 2009, 2010 timeframe. And but you can see what a huge increase in 2009, and then what a huge drop in 2010. And it looks like it may be going down even further, although 2011 certainly is not over yet. But there's clearly no money in these attacks, or at least not there's not enough money to warrant the cost of going to jail. But there's some other motivation there that's not satisfied by the equations that we were offering or the ones by Whitman. The bottom line is this: what is the net benefit of defending against DDoS attacks? It may well be that the problem is simply not worth defending against at all. I mean, other than very superficial, low-cost measures, these expensive solutions for defending against DDoS may cost more than the potential benefit that they bring. After this, we will conclude with a summary of the presentation.